He looked in, because if I was president, that's the first thing I do. I go right into those files and see what was going on.
Right.
And he said that he did do that.
Yes.
And that he didn't find anything.
Well, I'm gonna do it again.
Yeah, why?
Do you remember this? This was Jimmy Kimmel asking Hillary Clinton about whether or not she was going to look into the UFO files. Hillary Clinton says, I'm going to do it again. Now, this wasn't an offhand remark by Jimmy Kimmel. This wasn't this kind of just random thing that Jimmy Kimmel came up with. Jimmy Kimmel's team was being pushed by the Clinton team to ask this very question. Now, you find this out in WikiLeaks. This was one of those little nuggets that came up in WikiLeaks. Her team was pushing him to ask that very question because she wanted to put out to the forefront of the American public that this was an issue that was important to her. Whether it was or wasn't, this was definitely something she wanted to put into the forefront of the American public. Well, Jimmy Kimmel is not the only one asking this question. Hillary Clinton is not the only one showing interest. One Tucker Carlson has been on it, being very diligent in bringing this question up over and over again and paying attention to the UFO information that's being released since the New York Times has essentially changed the world with their bombshell reporting. Unlike Clinton, who failed to win the election, Tucker Carlson had the opportunity to ask the actual president, Donald Trump, this very issue, and got the opportunity to interview Trump and pushed him on this very issue. Does the United States know more about UFOs than it's telling? Mr. President, welcome to the soapbox. My name is Jamarl Thomas. This is the Progressive Soapbox. And indeed, Tucker Carlson got the opportunity to essentially pepper Donald Trump with questions on this very issue. My argument here is that, yes, good job, Tucker Carlson, asking the questions, but it should have went further, particularly if Donald Trump was going to take the position that Donald Trump took in those questionings. Let's have a 420. Blaze one. If you got one, let's have some fun. Tucker Carlson goes in on Trump about the UFO issue. Now, you all know that this is one of my pet issues. I'm enamored by this issue. And so I cover this issue. This channel is named Jamarl Thomas. Ergo, this is where we are. Something's weird. Okay. All right. So Tucker Carlson. Yeah, my system's doing weird stuff. All right, so Tucker Carlson has been on this issue. He's been extraordinarily good on this issue of UFOs. And he's been talking to military personnel, people who've been behind the craft. He's been talking to Luis Elizondo, people who've been on top of the program, meaning Elizondo was the guy who was head of that program, the ATIP program that was studying UFOs that hit the pages of the New York Times. And you could say changed the world. Listen to what Luis Elizondo says about this. I'm sorry. Here we are. My system is being very strange. I had all of these videos up and then all of a sudden my system, for whatever reason, started to, it's like it's repeating the videos or something. That's exactly what it's doing. Oh, bastard. All right. You got to go with it, and I'll try to fix it afterwards. All right, so first, Tucker Carlson gets Luis Elizondo on the show. Listen to what Luis Elizondo says. And again, Elizondo is the guy who headed the ATIP program. The ATIP program was a program that was studying UFOs. It was studying under, you can say, the direction of Harry Reid. Well, Harry Reid was the instigator of the program. And this is the kind of overt, this is exactly what the reporting shows it to be, meaning there's no conspiracy theory stuff associated with this. This is literally the reporting on it. If you wanted to look at the New York Times or Washington Post or Politico or the rest of the articles associated with it. This is what Elizondo says when Tucker Carlson engages him on this very specific question of, well, it can't be, radar ghost, or it can't be these other kind of issues. Listen to what Luis says.
So, I mean, there have been enough sightings over a long enough period that the idea that this is a computer glitch or that these are generated somehow by radar systems, that can't be right, correct?
Tucker, we are well beyond right now establishing whether or not these things exist. It is an absolute fact that they are there. Now, what they are, where they're from, who's behind the wheel, we simply don't know. I mean, is it possible these things are a foreign adversarial technology that somehow was developed in secret and we're just now trying to figure these things out? It's possible, but there's also other possibilities as well of what these things could be.
Right. So that would be the terrestrial explanation. Just assign off the top of your head a likelihood of that being the case, that these are Russian or Chinese.
Boy. You know, Tucker, you don't want me to give my opinion. The one thing I learned in intelligence, there's a lot.
He goes further in this video, this very specific video, where he just said, look, there's no way these are radar ghosts. Those things are there. Our pilots have been seeing them. And as reporting of the New York Times kind of makes the point, the pilots have been seeing them a lot. You've had pilots to come forward, giving their testimony, saying, I was watching it, I was looking at it. You have human testimony, you have radar testimony, you have visuals at this point, video footage of this stuff at this point. It's an established fact. It's there. Now, the secondary question is, what is it? It's secondary, but at the very least, I want to nail down and establish that they are there. The Navy is not changing their protocols for no reason. The Navy is changing their protocols because they're aware that their pilots are actually seeing things and recording things. So that's Elizondo. Now, I want to go to the second point. The fact that Elizondo comes out and says, yes, Tucker, I was ahead of that program. They were there. Elizondo has come forward further in the CNN interview saying, yes, I believe that, we're being visited from somewhere else. Elizondo has been saying some wild stuff, and that is the guy who's been in charge of the program. He's not saying that wild stuff for willy-nilly. He's saying it because he was there, he was studying it, and they were doing scientific research. Now, you can say he's a spook. You can say he's part of this kind of CIA stuff. You can say he's trying to put forward this kind of thing on the American public. All that's fine. But at the very least, let's accept that that's the conspiracy theory. The reality of it is, pilots, our Navy, our military, our personnel, people who are flying multi-million-dollar weapons platforms are saying we are seeing things. And these things that we are seeing, these craft that we are seeing, are doing things that we cannot do and that would crush our spines if we even tried to. That's some fascinating, amazing stuff. That's some amazing stuff. Now, so Tucker Carlson gets the opportunity to interview Donald Trump. And what do you think Tucker Carlson wants to talk about? Now, he talks about other stuff. That's true. But the thing that also comes up, otherwise Tucker Carlson would have lost his UFO card, is UFOs. Listen to what Tucker Carlson asks. And I want to put forward gentle criticism in saying Tucker should have went a little further in pushing it. But let's hear him out.
You've been briefed on unidentified flying objects. Are they real?
Well, I don't want to really get into it too much, but personally, I tend to doubt it. I mean, you have people that swear by it, right? And pilots have come in and they said, and these are pilots that are not pilots that are into that particular world, but we have had people saying that they've seen things. I'm not a believer, but, I guess anything's possible.
We spoke to a government official recently who said the U.S. government had wreckage from a UFO in a facility on an Air Force base. Are you familiar with that?
I haven't heard that, no. I haven't heard that. It has not been within government, has not been a big thing, but I've seen it. I've seen it on your show, but I've seen it. I don't assume it's correct, but, I have an open mind, Tucker.
No, you do, Mr. President. Thank you for that.
Nowadays, you can.
Donald Trump is such a weird way of talking that trying to even parse his words is problematic. Donald Trump also lies as easily as he breathes. So again, even on that, it becomes somewhat of a difficult thing to try to parse through what Donald Trump is saying. Obama and many of the other presidents dodged or laughed this off. Tucker was able to get multiple questions because this was an issue that Tucker cared about. Stephanopoulos asked Donald Trump a question about this once before, and Donald Trump just kind of says, yes, I was briefed. Okay, great, you were briefed. Let's go further. than you were briefed stuff. He says, personally, I tend to doubt it. Personally, me, as an individual, I tend to doubt it. People can tell you stuff, meaning you could have been told something, you could have been briefed on something. There are going to be all sorts of personal biases that get you to disbelieve the thing that you're being told, even though you're being told it is absolutely real. There were further questions I would have asked. He says, I don't presume it to be true. But these are, this is somewhat of an odd phrasing in the way he's going about it. It doesn't necessarily really give you too much information one way or the other in regards to what's true and what's not. I would have pushed further because I would wanted a little bit more clarification. This would have been a point where my wife would have been tugging me like, dude, let it go, let it go, let it go. If there was wreckage, because Tucker Carlson made note that there was wreckage. If there was wreckage in the way that the person who was looking over this project, because after all, this was an investigation, a scientific investigation where he was covering this, if there was indeed wreckage, would you as the president know about it? And not just would you as the president know about it, would you be able to tell? That question gets into something else. You can say, well, dude, if he lies about the other stuff, why wouldn't he lie about this? But still, I would still ask the question. Would you know about it? Would you know about it has a secondary question to that. If these were compartmentalized projects, would you as the president know about the fact that they were compartmentalized projects? And would you be read in on those projects as president of the United States? Yeah, I have questions. I mean, you have the president sitting in front of you. Go further. I don't think Tucker Carlson would ever see this video. If Tucker Carlson ever does see this video, good on you for asking it. Go further. Go further. If these were private industry projects, meaning sometimes in order to get around the Freedom of Information Act, items are kept within private enterprise to kind of work in a roundabout way with using government overseeing those projects. It's a way of avoiding having the Freedom of Information Act revealing what's taking place within the context of the project. Would you, Mr. President, be read in on those projects if these projects were compartmentalized? If that answer is no, then that in and of itself is a fascinating answer. Come on, please tell me you get that this is a fascinating question and answer. Now, if there was wreckage in custody, would you be able to say something about it, even if you did know about it? Meaning, if you knew, could you tell us that you knew in the first place? Go further. Were you briefed when you first entered the White House? Meaning on day one, when you first walked in, were you briefed? Because if Trump was briefed, that means every other president was briefed on day one on this very issue on entering the White House. Were you briefed? And again, if you were briefed, why did you need a second briefing? What changed? You and multiple members of Congress were recently briefed on the UFO topic. It was all in the news. Everybody knows about it at this point. That means you were recently briefed. But were you briefed when you first entered the White House on this issue? Because I want to know whether the previous presidents were briefed. I mean, Obama was briefed, but he danced around this. So I'm assuming that Trump was briefed when he first entered on this issue. If there was nothing to talk about on this issue, why be briefed in the first place? And if you were briefed the first time around, why did you need to be briefed again? What changed? What changed? Do you doubt the pilot's recollections? Donald Trump kind of made the point that says, yeah, pilots are seeing things. And he said that to Stephanopoulos. Do you doubt their recollections? Meaning, you may doubt the UFO subject, but those pilots are out there. They're behind multi-million-dollar aircraft. Do you doubt the recollections of the pilots who are behind the multi-million-dollar weapon platforms? And if so, why? What makes you doubt their recollections? What makes you think that they are somehow ill-prepared to be behind the wheel of that device? Because that's essentially what you're saying if you're saying you doubt their recollections. They're not insane. They're extraordinarily sober. Why do you doubt their recollections? Meaning, my point, I hope you get my point. You shouldn't doubt their recollections. And seeing as it's multiple pilots, it's not just one or two, seeing as you have a cornucopia of them, certainly you can agree with me, sir, that there's something there. Are you prepared right now to say that you agree with me that these pilots are engaging in doing something? After all, the Navy changed their protocols. Do you know what they are, sir? Has anybody speculated on what they were? Is there any official speculation on what they might be? I mean, after all, they are pilots. They're behind multi-million-dollar platforms. They're flying in airspace. And they're encountering stuff that is doing things that is out of this world that comes across in some respects to look like magic. In some cases, even engaging consciousness itself. You're not curious that what those are? There hasn't been internal deliberation as to what those might be? You haven't talked about it at all? Can you disclose any of the nature of the briefing that you received? The Navy is telling us that, yes, there's something to see here, but no, we're not going to tell you what there is, sir. You can certainly see that this is somewhat of a problematic disposition from the standpoint of the public. Yes, I have questions. I have 1,000 questions. I could have had Donald Trump there all day, bending his ear. They would have had to drag me away. It wouldn't have been this friendly, laughing, they would have been Secret Service. No, I have another question. I have another question. That would have been me. That would have been me. That would have been me. They would have had to drag me away. They would have had to drag me away from that interview. Tucker Carlson, good job when asking the question, because I don't know anybody else who's sat there and deliberately went after, president on this particular topic. But God, man, more. There should have been more. There should have been more. I'll leave this here. I don't want this one to be long, and I know Jimmy Dore is essentially draining my audience away. But God, I would have loved for this, for him to ask for more. I'd love for him to ask for more. All right. If you guys enjoy the content, please feel free to share, like, subscribe. And you can always support PayPal or Patreon. Thanks all. Bye-bye.